Welcome to Dirty Shirt Workshop. When I finished up the fan in my oven, that was intentionally so I'd be able to do powder coat in here. So this is going to be my first powder coat project. This is an old beam scale. The company, the sticker says American Scale Company. This thing actually goes up to 1,000 pounds, so we could weigh your mom. All right. So I don't know what the original color scheme is on this thing. I'm starting to find some clues. Obviously the wood here for the column and the platform is going to be flag blue. I think what I'm seeing here is that the scales on this, here, let me bring it in so you can see. So there's the sticker. So if somebody has one of these or knows someone with one or sees one and it's the original paint colors, I would love to get a picture of that. Interesting detail here. They have this notch on this piece of steel and in the wood to make sure this column's in the right place, because if that were to one side or the other, it wouldn't be accurate. It's got, well, here. It's got a little stop system here. There. So that when you're transporting it, it doesn't shake around. I also see, so I've gone ahead and put a little oil on all these bolts and screws, hopefully get them loosened up. The weights, those I don't know about if I'm going to get them apart or not. I hope I can. These screws right here, that's actually a rod that goes all the way down to the bottom through the column. So, and that looks really crusty. So that might actually break coming off, but if it does, I can always make the rod the right length. If it breaks on the rod somewhere, I can, weld or braze something. If the nut gets trashed, I can make a new square nut, so that'll still look good. Then I see some ears here. They kind of move. So it looks like I'll be able to unhook the hook down here, flip those ears out, and I can actually just pull this whole beam out. Hey, that one's loose. I like that. Same. Get the hook out of here. Oh, that's great. The numbers were white through the whole thing. You can even see that on the back. It's very clear. The numbers were white and the scale all the way down on both beams. The other thing that I'm seeing here, it looks like I was going to clean up this brass and shine it with Brasso and put clear coat on, but you can see red paint here, and it goes all the way down the beam, and it's just kind of wore off down here. So this was definitely red with white lettering. So this is still going to be a two-step process, because I was just going to fill the letters and then sand it clean so just the letters were colored, and then clear coat the brass so it wouldn't corrode. But it looks like it needs to be painted red, so we'll do that instead. Ah, that's interesting. How do we get two-tone numbers with the red? That I don't know how the hell to do that. Well, since there's a mechanism on this band, it's got a notch there to keep this in the right place. So I think I'm going to try drilling right next to these bolts with a really skinny drill bit to get that wood to release. I've got a PEX fitting here I'm going to sacrifice. I'm going to drill it out to the same size as that bolt and then clean up the outside edge, get it pretty thin, and I should be able to pound that down around that bolt, which will separate the wood from it and let me get that off of there. Uh-oh. Well, that ain't good. Trying this again a little differently on the other side. Now I've slotted it to make it like a saw. I don't want to damage these threads. I'm going to see if tapping this around might loosen that wood up a bit. It's amazing, these two studs are able to hold this so well. This is just a flat plate under here otherwise. Hey, hey, that one gave. With that one coming looser, that should give me something to help with the other one. All right, that was surprisingly difficult. That's great. Now I can glue that piece of wood back together. These chunks of wood, I assume those boards used to hook to them. Nope. They're just in there. That's interesting. Okay, so these arms here, they just hook on these pins. And that keeps this thing from moving the wrong way laterally. And then on the bottom of this, you have these feet. They sit on these ears all the way around. Then the hinge mechanism right here, that goes over in the back to what that rod hooks onto to go up to the scale. Pretty simple design, and I like that everything is just these little hook pieces of metal. I take this apart and clean it up real easy. Don't have to screw around with any more bolts, except for the ones on the scale head here, which I do want to get off of there so that I can clean this up properly and paint that. They actually poured lead in here, presumably to get the weight exactly what they wanted it to be. I also noticed on the back of the beam here, it's got the same thing. There's this little slot here, and they put lead in there. So they were doing something at the factory to make up for manufacturing inconsistencies on these to be able to do that. So put the lead in there, evens it out. It's pretty good. All right, the one with the detent for the notches, that goes on the back. I'll need to remember that later. That one's got lead in it too. They've been at it all afternoon, just staring inside the blast cabinet. It took a real long time to get all these cleaned up. I did learn quite a bit. The base was actually black. As I started cleaning it up, there was black paint coming through, and then there was primer under that. So black was the top coat. The platten was actually white. So I'll paint that white. I got the right blue paint for all the wood. I'm still not sure exactly how the scale's gonna come out, what I'm gonna do with it. The brass isn't really cleaning up nice, so I think it definitely is gonna have to get coated. So the question will just be if the powder coat, hopefully it doesn't fill in my numbers. So we'll have to see how that goes. And I got all the little pieces and everything hung up in here. All I'm gonna do right now is heat everything up to dry it out, drive off any leftover oils or anything that I didn't get with the acetone. So I'll be ready to start coating tomorrow. So that's the end for today. Tomorrow's day 2. Hey, it's the next morning, getting after it here. The coating's actually going really well. The oven is working just the way I wanted it to when I run the ventilation fan on the side. Any stray powder that's in here you can see it go up inside the top of the oven, and it's gonna go up out the chimney. So I'm real happy with that because I'm not needing a respirator to do this. And man, this powder is so fine, you definitely would not want to be breathing it. You'd be not happy very quick. So got a little light in here so that I can see good. The other thing I did on my rods that I'm using to support my parts, I've taped up the ends so that I'm not charging the entire side of the oven and then sticking powder all over inside the oven and building it up. I don't want to do that. I'll probably get some to stick to my rods, but it's not too much. I'm doing black first because there's only one set of major visible parts that are black, which is the wheels and the base, which is in here right now. The base is big enough that if this doesn't work for whatever reason, I can clean that up pretty easy with a grinder with a wire wheel on it. That'll strip everything right off, and then I can just do traditional painting. I'm still questioning whether this is going to work, because as I looked into powder coat more, turns out you're not supposed to use a gas oven. Nobody really says, hey, don't use a gas oven, because they just say use an electric. So I'm assuming it might have to do with draft inside your oven. If it's too much, it'll probably blow the powder off your parts. This is a real light draft when it runs, so I think that'll be okay. Supposedly the powder is flammable / explosive. The way this oven is set up, there's not going to be powder going through the fire. It's all going to stay in here and be blown out the chimney, so I don't think there's going to be any trouble with that. Plus I got my explosion safety system on the oven. If you're not familiar with that, if you go back and look at the family oven series, I think it's part 4 where I paint it, where I demonstrate what this is. So basically, if there's an explosion inside, the doors release and the top can even pop out. So it's not going to be a bomb in the shop, it's just going to poof, and that's it. So I'll bring you in here, show you a little bit of coating, not a lot. I am not a professional, this is my first time doing it. Don't do what I do because it's probably wrong. So the last thing I'm going to do is I've got here barbecue thermometer. I'm going to wire this thing in here on one of the rods for the base so that I can monitor the temperature from the outside so I know when it's flowed out. Seems like it's taking about an hour to get up to temperature, and then 20 minutes at temperature. So it's going to be about a 90-minute cycle every time I bake something in here. So I want the thermometer so I don't have to be opening the doors and I can really know what's going on. The coating is going real good, unless you get too close to the part. So that's neat. One of the things they talk about in the book on this is that when you have odd parts, they can effectively make a Faraday cage. And let me zoom you in here. There, so you can see, right, there's some bare spots on that part inside, like right there, inside there. So the charge actually ends up repelling powder on these intricate parts. So I did all right on my wheels. Those look pretty good, but that one I'm having trouble with, but it's no big deal. That one's not visible on the finished part anyway. I'm just coating all this stuff to practice, and now I've learned something. I've seen what they told me for myself. Well, the oven didn't explode, so that's good. So I don't buy that argument on powder coat. Already up 5 degrees in there. So we'll check it out when we hit 400. I will open it just so we can see what the flow out looks like. Well, the thermometer keeps jumping around between 385 to 400. So I think we've been up to 400 in there, so I'm gonna check things out and see what we got. So we'll turn off the draft for now and have a look. Okay, that's definitely flowing out. It looks pretty good. All right, stop losing heat. And get this thing rolling again. So 20 more minutes. Well, that came out really good. The high gloss really highlights all the defects in the casting. But I'm happy with it. That's what I was going for. I really like it. I guess you can powder coat in a gas oven. I don't see any trouble with it. Everything came out even the way it was supposed to. I guess I should look at more of these other parts. There's that plate that goes on top of the column. Oh man. Yeah, that came out real good. I mean, they're only gonna be so smooth. Those castings were really corroded and rusty. You can see the difference. Like that spoke air is real nice, but these over here, they're just not very good. That's how the casting was, because this thing's so old and it's been corroded. I'm real happy with that. Sure does look a lot better. Well, things have been going pretty good. I got the white powder coat put down. Found with that, you definitely need more than one coat. So after it was cooled off a little bit, I just sprayed more powder on while it was still hot and started the oven up again. I'll be able to finish that, but I don't have enough propane left to run the red for the scale. But I can do a little assembly right now. So these are the hangers that hold this bracket in place, which is what transfers the weight over to the scale. So I'm just greasing these a little bit, and I probably don't even need it, but I figure why not. Then I got my blue paint done. on all the parts on the top that are going to be painted blue. Of course, that was just rattle can again. I do like the powder coat better, but it does cost more running the gas. I still haven't put more insulation on the outside of that oven. I probably ought to now that I know how much it's going to cost me to run it. Alright, I guess I gotta have the wheels in here for that to be off the ground. This is the lever that goes on top. One end hangs from that hook. This hook goes down to the bottom, and then this is to go up to the scale. When I coated these, I put masking in here to keep the coat off of those surfaces. Probably doesn't matter, but I figured up here, this is where the force is reduced quite a bit, so I didn't want that plastic interfering with the function of the scale. I can't really hook up the bottom or this other side until I get the scale in here, so that's all going to have to wait. But this can is right at the end. I'm hoping it's got enough. Nope. Always happens, doesn't it? You get right to the end of the can, you have just not quite enough. So paint these nuts and washers, $7. Done. Woo! That was well worth $7. Okay, this is really silly. I just had to show you. So this is the scale. I ran it through the oven, powder coated, of course, like 3 times because I tried highlighting my numbers with the paint marker. That did not work because the paint actually dissolves the powder coat and it just totally ruined it. Grease pencil doesn't work. Chalk won't stay in. I'm gonna try latex paint after this if this doesn't work, but it looks like it's going to so far. That's looking real good. This is really stupid what this is. This is joint compound, drywall joint compound, which is not chalk, it's different. So once this dries, get this all cleaned up, then I'm gonna clear coat it so that it holds this stuff in there. I wanna clear coat it because if I don't, then that's just gonna get dirty over time. So this actually goes really, really easy. You just wipe it on here and it fills everything in. I'm just amazed at how easy this is. I've been fighting with this for several days trying to come up with something that I thought was going to look as good as I wanted it to. Alright, piece of rag. What gets me is I can wipe it with the rag and nothing comes out. With the paint would come out same thing with the chalk, but with this plaster, it just kind of stays in there, except for right there. I was wiping really hard too. It really doesn't matter that much. That's down so low. I guess it does. If you want 101 pounds, you need those lines. So basically what I'll do is I'll let this dry, and then once it's dry, I'm going to try going over it with a wet rag again, just to get this surface stuff, which I already done once here, and it looks like I need to do again. There. That really brings it out. Now, it's disappointing that some of these numbers aren't stamped very well. Like this 35 here. It's like this on both sides. That 35 isn't very good. But overall, that's really making the numbers pop. I'm really happy with that. Get that 80 filled in a little better. Maybe. That might be another, yeah, that's another number that's just punched too shallow. But you still know what it is based on everything else. So I'll just heat it up to like 200 degrees before I go to bed. And then just shut the oven off and let it bake out overnight to get all the moisture out of this. And I'll clean it up and then see about doing a clear powder coat on it tomorrow. Did my clear coat, came out pretty good. I see a few of my numbers got a little bit covered up. I'm not sure what happened there. I don't know if the red ran or what. But I'm pretty happy with the result. And again, this was practice first time through, so I did already grease the pivots over there. Now get the weights put back on, get this thing looking the way it's supposed to. I was talking to my dad the other day. He was planning this weight here because it's got this screw here. That's actually for your tare. So if you have, maybe you're weighing something in a bucket or something, you put it on that scale. You can put the empty bucket on and adjust to 0 on that, and then you know what you got. I didn't realize that was what it was for. I thought it was just calibration. Oh, something doesn't feel right on the bottom. Wire seesaw. Oh no. I wonder if this bottom plate warped when it was coating. That sucks. I can about guarantee that's what happened. Getting that casting hot warped it. I'm gonna try putting a shim in there. That's better. There we go. It says somewhere between 205 and 210, which is right. All right. Here's the finished view. I'm really happy with how this came out. Never done powder coat before. Happy to try it, get the gear. Wasn't too dang expensive. Well, you can't see that worth a darn. Well, that pretty well wraps it up. I think this is close to the original color scheme. I mean, the pigments aren't going to be identical. When I put my clear coat on the scale, it did seal up all of my drywall joint compound for highlighting my numbers. So that'll stay white for a long time and not get discolored. Got the original sticker on there still. I masked that off when I was spraying the wood. So I'm really happy with how the scale came out. As far as the powder coating, I'm definitely sold. I'm a powder coat guy from now on. I love it. I hate spray cans. I don't like the fumes, the mess. I've never been good at operating them. I don't know why. It's just one of those hobbies that I'm not good at. So I will stick to powder coat for everything that I'm gonna do. I know somebody will ask, even though I don't sponsor stuff, and this isn't a sponsor, it's what I got. I bought the Eastwood, one of the Eastwood kits. It's the dual voltage gun. So I think it ran like $200. This is not too bad. The powders are cheap, at least to me. I am happy with the system. It is definitely a home gamer tool, but it's a really good one. It's not a high-end commercial tool. If I was gonna do a lot of this stuff, or I was doing it commercially, I would definitely not use that. I would get a real high-end commercial gun. As far as the oven, I was hoping with the fan on it, that I would be able to spray in it like a booth and not have to wear a mask. That's not true. I gotta wear a mask. I was spraying the white powder, had the sun coming through the window. I could just see particles everywhere instantly. So, and those real fine particles, you don't want that stuff in your lungs. I like to stay alive. So yeah, wear a mask. The other thing with that oven is that fan is going to pull that powder out and push it up my chimney and out of here before I ever light the gas. Again, you're not supposed to use gas with it. I don't know why. No one really says that. I just see, don't use gas. It even says that in the Eastwood book. It just says, don't use a gas oven. Well, tell me why not to use a gas oven. Now, there are warnings elsewhere that say the dust, if you have a lot of powder, dust of the powder in the air, that can be flammable. That'd be just like grain dust, I get that. But that's why my fan's pulling it out of there. And then when I light my stove, there's no powder there, so that's not a problem. What's on the thing is just gonna get warm and melt. I didn't have any issues with getting any deposits or soot or anything from the fire. I'm burning propane here, so your only real byproduct is just gases and water. So I didn't have any trouble with that. I will continue using a gas oven. However, like with me having to try a few times to get these numbers coded right, I coded this several times. I went through probably a bottle and a half of the grill bottles, you know, the little 20-pound cylinders or whatever they are. So about 30 bucks worth of propane. So it does eat a lot of fuel to cook with this. I can definitely see having one of those smaller ovens, like a benchtop oven, or just get an old household electric oven for the smaller parts. That would be the way to go. But this, I had so many big parts, the gas oven made perfect sense. So, and I would still coat inside of it, even though it doesn't get all the particles. My floor is clean. I don't need to sweep or vacuum my floor. There is not a bunch of particles on the floor. So I'm real happy with that. I'm set up. I'm gonna use powder coat from now on. That's all I got for you. Thanks for watching.